It's time for the opening keynote. And the subject for this opening keynote is preparing for an AI age. Now that we all know we are slowly transitioning into AI culture, AI age, we all already have so much in the market, and I'm sure there's always longing for more. But what's the future of AI? Is it a boon or a bane? And to talk more about this and give us some valuable insights, I would request all of you to please put your hands together once again for K Yatish Rajawat, CEO, Center for Innovation in Public Policy. Please put your hands together once again for K Yatish Rajawat. Sir, can we please have you on stage for the opening keynote? Zor se baja do yaar. Thank you. Welcome, sir.
Good morning, everybody. Hi, Sunil. So, for those of you who don't know me, I used to be a journalist for many years, ran a couple of newspapers, have the unique so-called opportunity of running both multiple language newspaper and English newspapers, running both a business newspaper and a journal newspaper. But today I'm not going to talk to you about newspapers. Now I work in public policy, and I wanted to talk to you about something that is actually disrupting your industry and disrupting your life as we speak. So I'm going to focus basically on how you can prepare for it and what are the skills that you actually need to inculcate right now so that you are not outdated and become dinosaurs while we speak. And the reason you are in very so-called acute stage of becoming dinosaur is because the change that is coming is exponential in nature. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about my organization because, I can't miss a pitch in a room full of PR professionals. So CIPP is basically a think and do tank. We work in three broad areas. Emerging tech is one of the areas that we work in. We also work very closely as an organization in livelihood and employment. We are in 3 states, all in the northern India, UP, Haryana and Punjab. We are building up livelihood centers and employment centers there. Our work in the livelihood space is on the ground in terms of building these centers. Our work in emerging tech is more public policy research. So our interest in basically AI comes from our work in emerging tech. So let me now kind of take you to 2 parts of AI. So for those of you who have been hearing the AI word repeatedly for the last couple of months at least, AI is not new. AI is possibly now 60-odd years old. It's come into being, it's come into the so-called hype stage because of the fact that it started touching your lives daily. And more importantly, why it has started touching your life is because of generative AI. And what is generative AI? Generative AI is basically a machine learning or a computer that is able to generate text, image, video, and 3D modeling. So while AI was always in your life, whenever you went on Facebook and the Facebook popped up something which was engaging you, you interacted with AI. Whenever you did search on Google, you interacted with AI, but it didn't really affect your life. Now with generative AI, it affects, I think, every PR professional life because you're in the business of communicating in forms which are text, video, and image. And all those 3 forms, so to say, can be generated by AI. And it can be generated in a better manner. It can write better than you. It can or almost as close to possible as a, you know, um, 7-year-old professional in the PR or journalism industry would be able to write. It can create a better presentation. So effectively, it is taking away what was called as, it is the base of your skill, which is writing a good press release, writing a good pitch, making a great presentation. But what it cannot do, or rather, let me just present you what it, okay. These are the generative so-called AI tools available in the market at this point in time. And if you look at them closely, most of them are open source, which means that they are free to use, which means they are business to consumer. That means like Google search, they are available for you to use. But they are just the tip of the iceberg, so to say. What is actually going to affect you is not these tools. What is going to affect you is the business tools that companies like Microsoft, Amazon, and Google is going to offer to your clients. Now, these enterprise level tools are far more superior than any of the tools that you see here. You know, you all heard of OpenAI. Sam Altman was in town yesterday. But OpenAI is 2021. What Google has launched in the last 2 months is a generative AI that can even generate code for you. They have it, and the product is called Cody actually. Cody is so advanced that in 4 prompts, you can train it to learn any computing language. So that means if you write 4 sentences of English, it can convert those 4 sentences of English into any computing language, Python, C#, Java, SQL, whatever you want, in a matter of seconds. So that's the level of advancement that these enterprise level tools are having. If you think that OpenAI or Bard does a great job of producing an essay, then you should look at what the text-to-speech or speech-to-text Chirp, which is again a Google product, which is the enterprise product, does in terms of writing long-form essays or in converting unstructured data into a presentation. What is unstructured data? Unstructured data is basically, data which is possibly existing in a PDF or written by hand. So that is the advancement that these tools promise. And I'm sure that most of your organizations, if not your organization, at least the organization that you serve, whether it's a small FMCG company or a large engineering company, will take these enterprise tools. Now, I am not an expert on the PR industry. So I asked the AI to actually generate what is called as a knowledge graph. Now, knowledge graphs are very useful for anybody trying to learn a subject, okay? And this is what the AI generated for me in a matter of microseconds. Now, look at the most crucial part of it, which Bhaskar pointed it out to me, which is 4.1, which is right at the end of it, which is measuring PR outcomes. Now, I believe that most of your careers or your appraisals are determined by outcomes. And most of you use third-party tools from one of the PR agencies to present your outcomes. Now, look at a scenario where your reporting boss measures the outcome of every article that you got printed or every TV interview that got printed from AI. And they take into account not just print, but also digital, TV, and social media. And they don't pay any PR agency to do that impact assessment. And they put that in front of you while they're appraising you as an agency or they're appraising you as a professional. Now, this is where we are getting. And we are already here in some sense. So if you were to look at a large FMCG company, which has say, the largest PR budget, the first thing that the PR manager they should do is hire an AI to measure the PR outcome so that they can do a better evaluation of their agency or they can do a better evaluation of their own team. So in this scenario, what happens to all your skills? What happens to your old skills and what are the new skills that you need? Do you think that needs a change? I mean, it's an open question. Do you think your skills will need an upgrade? It will. There's only one person who believes that it will. I don't know whether the rest of you believe it will or not, but I believe that there is now a change in the base skill level. Okay? So some of you who are facing clients or some of you who are facing media or social media, you are facing the other side of the picture, and there your skill is largely around a personal relationship or somebody you know or something that you know. Now the something that you know, you can assume AI knows it too. So that part of the skill is old. What is new and what will remain new is how do you now adapt to this environment? How do you learn? Which new skill do you have to learn? Do you have to, will you continue with the same mental model that you currently have? What is the mental model of a PR person? Allow me to give an outsider's view of it, okay? Your job is to present your client or your company in the best possible measure possible, and you think that it can be done the best through media, and you use various tools in your arsenal, which could be a press release, a press conference, a social media post, a social media video, to enhance that image. Now the production part of it, which you typically depended on a creative person to do, is best now done through generative AI. So in a sense, if you're a client-facing person, or if you were a media-facing person, and you were depending on somebody creative in your background to develop the press release or to develop the pitch, that part of it is easily done by you yourself. So therefore, I'm sorry about that awkward new versus old placement, but this is what AI does sometimes, you know. The AI also hallucinates, and it can go awkward many times. You know what AI hallucination basically means? So I don't know how many of you have seen the movie I, Robot. There's a very famous line in that movie called Ghost in the Machine, okay? And when they talk about Ghost in the Machine, they talk about basically that even super intelligence at some point in time gives you awkward and garbled answers. And that is called hallucination in the AI world. And the only thing possibly protecting some of the tasks and some of the skills that you currently have is the hallucinatory part of AI. Because sometimes it is not able to digest some of the unstructured data that you throw at it. And I'll give you why multiple intelligences are needed when you throw unstructured data. So for instance, you are in this room, I'm saying something, there is something on the screen, there's a colleague sitting next to you. This is unstructured data. That means you are listening to something, you are seeing something, and you are absorbing something right at that moment. Now, unstructured data typically is very difficult for an AI to absorb. Structured data of any kind, that means anything that exists in text, image, PowerPoint or video can be absorbed and assimilated by AI very quickly. And you'll be amazed at what it produces when you give it structured data. So then, therefore, why people in this room will do much better than people who are not there. You know why? Because you guys are spending your time in actually networking. Okay? And networking is something that AI cannot do. Okay? So please understand this, that if you were spending 2 days in a week networking, you have to actually spend 5 days in a week networking. Because that is something, and that is a skill. Interpersonal is a skill. If you thought your skill was writing or writing a great press release, or if you thought your skill was presenting a great pitch to your boss or to your client, that skill is, the base skill there, is getting outdated. I mean, all of us know that there are multiple kind of intelligences. Now, the kind of intelligences which can be embedded in an AI are quite evident. Can somebody tell me which one are these which would be embedded in an AI? Out of these 8 or 9 skills, which one do you think is best imitated by an AI? Pardon? Linguistic, okay. Any other skill? Pardon? Linguistic, logical, mathematical. Yes, absolutely. That was the first skill that it incorporated. Anything else? So, I mean, there are 3 skills here, okay? Linguistic, logical, mathematical, and musical, okay? These intelligence can be easily embedded, copied, done better by AI than humans currently. Currently. That means it will only improve and become better than humans as we go forward. Because AI runs on an exponential base. Now look at the other skills, other intelligence which AI cannot. So, your existential questions of life and death, that intelligence AI cannot because it never dies. So it cannot even relate to that. Your interpersonal skills, your ability to understand other people, judge them by their facial reactions, judge them by their body movements, that AI cannot get. Though it is getting very good at reading facial tics. So people have started using AI in assessment when people are, and it can identify whether you are cheating or not, just by the movement of your eyes. So I met a company day before yesterday which does that. And it's remarkable that they've been able to capture all the facial changes that happen when you are cheating. Bodily kinesthetic, intrapersonal, spatial is another skill that 3D modeling and creating architect map that AI is learning and will soon be there. So what skill do you need? Interpersonal, of course, for I think a PR professional is very crucial. But I think that what you also need is, you also need to learn what AI can do for you. And that is called as prompt engineering. Okay? If you go back, mid-90s, late 90s, there were people who were teaching how to do searches, okay? Most of you are young enough, I think barring Nitin or Bhaskar, but there was a time that, you were taught how do you search through PDFs, or how do you search through all the education sites, or how do you search through all non-profit sites, okay? How do you search within files? So that is something now in the AI world which is called as prompt engineering. And that's a skill that you need to learn, Because now, instead of making a presentation on a PowerPoint, you can make a video presentation to your boss, which could be far more impressive, far more to the point, and you would not need to hire an agency to do that. You would not need to pay Shutterstock or any of the third-party video providers for montages in that. You would not need a scriptwriter. And in that world, the base skill of the creative guy cannot be mediocre. He can't be a mediocre person and imagine that he will continue to be employed. Because even a client, there are already agencies, at least advertising agencies, which are taking the first cut presentation using AI. I don't know how many of you have had the experience of getting a brief from the client which has been written by AI. Anybody's got a brief, well-written brief, very pointed, very clear, written by an AI? Yeah, so if the brief is happening, then the first cut pitch is also happening. And if the first cut pitch happens, then the refinement also happens on something that the AI produces. So the job of the creative guy is not producing something from zero, but actually improving something that has been developed by AI. And that all of you can do. So in a sense, some of the skills that we thought were soft and we thought were not very important are becoming hard in this world. And one of those skills is actually thinking. I know it is the most underrated skill and we don't give it enough value, but thinking is actually the most important skill that you will have or need to develop if you need to evolve as any kind of professional in any kind of industry which is being affected by AI. And how do you develop the skill of thinking? Basically, this is a skill that you can only develop if your mind is not soaked with dopamine. So how many of you guys are on your mobile phone at the moment? How many of you are looking at your mobile phone every 14 seconds or 3 seconds or 4 seconds? The average person actually looks at his mobile every 4 seconds. You know what happens when you look at your mobile every 4 seconds? Your mind basically becomes soaked with dopamine. And dopamine is the same chemical which is used by cocaine, which is triggered by cocaine. So it is the same kind of addiction. But a dopamine-soaked brain, which is overstimulated, cannot think. So if you would notice that by the end of the day, you are so tired that you are unable to even have a long conversation with your spouse or with your family. Now, you're not physically tired, but your brain has been so overstimulated through the day that it is unable to create a conversation. And conversation is the simplest form of creativity because it is impromptu, it is generated at that particular point in time, it is generated without any input from any other device. And more people are getting basically addicted to their phones. You look at the best CEOs, okay? You look at anybody, okay, take one example, Mark Zuckerberg. Mark Zuckerberg actually does not allow his own children to have a touch screen. And he actually banned a touch screen in the school they went. The only reason for that was that he believed that if his children become dopamine addicted, they won't be able to think. And here everybody else is addicted to either Facebook or Instagram or any one of these products that he has made. So if you are addicted, you will never be able to think. The other skills on this slide are all connected to thinking, except possibly collaboration. But if you can't think, you can't create. If you can't, and every form of communication is some form of creativity. The form may change. It could be, a text, it could be an image, but it is communication at the end of the day. So as I said, who is the creative person is changing. All of you need to be creative. All of you need to be actually thinking people. All of you need to spend time to think. So I think I'm running out of time. I'll just conclude this. I want to leave one message behind with you. There's a gentleman by the name Steven Johnson, and he gives a very simple technique for thinking and thinking creatively. Steven Johnson says that at least once in the day, for at least between 30 minutes to 1 hour, you should be bereft of all your devices. Your brain should not be stimulated, and you should be walking. So walking has been walking for at least the last 100 years. If you look at any thinker in the world, whether it's Bertrand Russell, Carl Jung, or Freud, they've all come up with brilliant ideas only when they have been walking. And walking is underrated, but walking without music, there should be no music to stimulate your mind. Walking should be at a place that you are aware of, familiar place, where you don't have to be, worry about traffic coming in or not. So Charles Darwin actually prepared what is called as a walking garden. So it was a 200-meter circle around his house, which was so familiar to him that he could walk in that path with his eyes closed. And that is when you think. And only when you think will you be able to think creatively. Only when you're able to think creatively will you be able to offer something in any collaborative relationship that you have. And the relationship will only become +1 if you bring something creative to that relationship. Every time you meet your boss, you have an idea for him. So thank you very much. I hope this was of some help to you guys.
Thank you so much. Once again, give it up for K Yatish Rajawat, CEO, Center for Innovation in Public Policy. Zor se bajao, yaar. Thank you so much for your valuable time, sir, and thank you so much for sharing such valuable insights as well.